Hey friends, in this video I am going to talk about how I used Anki to pass my USMLE Step 1 exam. Now, Anki is an application based on spaced repetition. Normally what happens is when we learn something and if we do not revise it, we would forget it. That's obvious. So an obvious solution that comes to our mind is, okay, we can revise this thing again and again so that we do not forget it. But when there is overwhelming information to be retained, it is quite impossible to revise each and everything every single day. So here comes the concept of spaced repetition, which states that when we learn something, the way we go about revising it is we revise that thing in increasing intervals of time. This saves our time because this way we do not have to revise the same thing each and every day. Install the app from its official website, link in the description below. So what I want you to do is when you first install Anki and you open it, you won't see these decks here. These all are decks. Some of these decks I have imported and others I have made myself. So when you first open Anki, you might not see any of the decks. So I want you to click on a create deck, and you can make decks subject wise or whatever suits you. What I didn't make decks subject wise because that way I could train my mind to or learn concepts from different subjects coming back to back. So yeah, click on create deck, and let's say you add a name like deck A. Now you have made a deck. Now at present this deck is empty, so I want you to click on this deck and I want you to click on add. Now this would open up. This is a card. Like how I said, a deck is a collection of cards. So we are inside deck A and this is a card inside deck A. What we are doing is adding a card inside deck A. So a card has a front, as you can see, and a back. The front part of the card usually contains a question. For example, thank you in Japanese. You can put any question. And on the back part is the answer. Click on add. When you click on add, we had just added one card to our deck A. Now let me talk about a little bit more how Anki works, particularly how the spaced repetition part of Anki works. So this was our original deck A, and when I open this deck, it would start showing me those cards. So here's the front part of the card, which is the question, thank you in Japanese. I would recall the answer to this question, which is arigato, and then to confirm my answer, I would click on show answer, and there you have the answer. Now here comes the spaced repetition part. You see these options at the bottom of the screen. This first option says less than 1 minute, the second option says less than 6 minutes, the third less than 10 minutes, the fourth option says 4 day. Now these options represent, for example, if I were to click on the third option less than 10 minutes, then that would mean the same card would be shown to me after 10 minutes again. Now how do I decide which option to choose? It depends upon how easily I was able to recall the answer on this card. If I was able to recall it quite easily, I would select a longer time period like 4 day or less than 10 minutes. But let's say if I had forgotten this information or recalled it incorrectly, I would have chosen a shorter time frame, something like less than 1 minute. Now the thing is, these options for time are not constant. What I mean is, over time, as I review this card again and again, this time option will change, particularly they will begin to increase. For example, after reviewing this card a couple of times, the time option that would come would be like 1.1 month, 2 month, 3 month, but one option would always be that of less than 10 minutes or some shorter time frame, so that if I recall that information incorrectly, I could always decrease the time frame again. Next, I'm going to show how I made Anki cards for my step 1 exam. So what I used to do was I used to make Anki cards from UWord, and how I used to do that, let me just give you an example. At present, I do not have UWord, but let me show you with Amboss. Like I do have Amboss with me right now. Okay, so let's just say I come across this question and I have no clue what this is about. Then like I just like used to think, okay, like what would be my I'll still try to answer it. Like even if I like do not know it. For example, let's say I just don't know this, then I'm gonna like click on any option and okay, and I'm gonna learn from this question that what's the correct answer and why is that the correct answer. After learning from the explanation that this is a question of prolactinoma, I would want to make a card on prolactinoma, and So like here's prolactinoma, and it talks about in UWorld like you would have a similar explanation and perhaps like even bigger explanation. So it would have like what's prolactinoma all about. Like here, Amboss is linking me to a bit of prolactinoma, like what is it about. So from here I could like the way I would make a card on this would be something like this. Like I would highlight this stuff and I'm going to copy it. I'm going to open my Anki and depending on the deck you want to add, let's say I want to okay, so like just click on add and choose the deck in which you would want to add that card in, and this is the front part of the card. So I'm going to paste the information I just copied and I'm going to type at the back prolactinoma. And what I would do is I am going to make this card a basic and reverse type of card. So I'm going to tell you more about it, what it does. So by making this card a basic and reverse card, what it would do is it would test the information both way around. For example, one card would force me, like one card would present me the symptoms of prolactinoma, and that would force me to realize that these symptoms are that of prolactinoma, and the other card would test me like the presentation of prolactinoma. So I would have to think, okay, like prolactinoma causes galactorrhea, amenorrhea, gynecomastia and stuff like that, and then I'm going to click on add. So that's pretty much it, and you can follow this concept for pretty much all the question, and depending upon what you know, what you do not know, what is high yield, you would want to make cards only on the high yield stuff. That's how you go about it. I have added my decks in the description and you can download them for free. But quick caveat, some of the cards may have incorrect information because I had been making cards since a long time back and some information may be incorrect. Now UWorld and Anki are the only two resources I used for my preparation. At present I am using Amboss, but back then when I was preparing for my Step 1 exam, I only used Anki and UWorld. Heck, I didn't even study first aid. I'm not recommending you to not study first aid, but back when I was preparing for my Step 1, I only used UWorld and Anki.